Alright, I was going to go over a little bit of what we went over today. And so I have open the lecture Adaptive Revit, and I just want to sort of reiterate that there are two levels in here, a pattern and a pattern 2. And if I go to my south elevation, it's looking at it from the front, and I zoom in, you've got a pattern, which is like a ground plane, and then you've got a pattern 2, which is 12 feet above it. So when I'm in pattern 2, I'm actually looking at this plan down here. And when I'm in pattern, I'm looking at this plan down here. And what Revit does is it starts at the level, goes up 4 feet, and cuts a section and looks down. Starts at the level, goes up 4 feet, and cuts a section and looks down. So I'm going to go to pattern 2, which is going to host everything that I do on pattern 2 level. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a family that we're going to create a divided surface within the project environment. So if I go to Architecture, Component, Model in Place, I'm going to pick the mass and click OK. And then I'm going to name it Pattern 1. And I'm going to go to my reference line and rectangle, and I'm going to make sure that it says Draw on Work Plane and Pattern 2, because that means it's going to host it on the work plane. And right now, because that point is really big, I know that 3D snapping is running, and I do not want 3D snapping running. So I'm going to turn that off, and that's going to host it right to this plane. So I'm just going to draw a rectangle from the top intersection of the reference planes that I gave you to the bottom. Okay. And then I'm going to go to Modify to stop the rectangle command. I'm going to pick the rectangle, and I'm going to go to Create Form. And it's going to ask me, do I want a 3D form, which is on the left, or do I want a 2D surface, which is on the right? You can't see them when you're in orthogonal view. If we were in 3D view, you could see them. So if I just hit Escape here and cancel out of that, go to 3D view, and do the same command, pick that, and go to Create Form, you can see the 3D option and the 2D option. We want the 2D option, so I'm going to hit Escape again, close this window, and I'll just pick that surface or pick those rectangles and go to Create Form and pick the one on the right. So now I have a surface there, and if I hover over that surface, I can pick it and divide the surface and turn the nodes on, which we want to do. So you click on this bottom right hand arrow to get the nodes on. And then I want to change the number to 6 and 6 just to make it a little less dense. And then I'm going to change the way it's dividing the grid from 6 to distance and from 6 to distance. And I'm just going to set a parameter that controls the divisions of those. And to do that, you can come over to your Properties dialog box here and left click on Distance and associate a family parameter with that. So I'm going to click on New Parameter, and I'm going to make it an instance, or actually I'll leave it as a type, and I'm going to go ahead and name it D1 and click OK. I'll click OK, and then I'll assign the same thing to the V-grid, D1. Now what that allows us to do is open up our Family Types dialog box here, and you can now adjust the grid by just typing in here and hitting Apply. Right, so I'll go ahead and go back to 10 and hit OK. Alright, so the next thing I want to do is I want to load a family in here and place it. So if I go to Insert, Load Family, I'm going to go and get families that I created. Okay, so I loaded a family. If I go into Insert and Load Family, you'll see it here, C-Line 1. If I bring that in, I can host that family 1, 2, 3, 4, and then repeat that family. Whoops. Oh, I think I had the wrong settings when I brought this out here, so I'm going to delete it, and let's double check. So if I pull this out, I want this to say place on face instead of place on work plane. If you place it on the work plane, it's going to place it on pattern 2, and I definitely want it to say place on face. So I'm just going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I'm going to stop the placement command, pick it, and I get a repeat, right? And so now I have a repetition of what could be a laser cut, right? And then I can go in and place a version of that here. I really need sort of a 4 points to place it to make it accurate, so we could do that. But that has got that guy placed, and I'm going to finish mass here. And when I come back, we'll do the next one.